what would your advice be to players now that are looking at colleges? Because that culture matters, that coaching matters, that right fit matters.
What I should have did better and what I tell any other player, man, is talk to the players, not just the star players that they put you with. Talk to the players at the end of the bench so you can see their perspective. Because the star player will get treated differently from the player that sits at the end of the bench. Go around talking to other players, from other sports, so you can get a bigger picture of it than just, you go on there, you're on a visit, you're there for a couple days and everything is fun, because that's not reality.
Right.
Welcome to Beyond the Game, where mental wellness competes. I'm your host, Phillip Reynolds, licensed clinical social worker, LCSW. I spent over 2 decades working in mental and behavioral health, sitting with families, athletes, and young people in some of the hardest moments of their lives. Over time, one pattern became impossible to ignore. The athletes who looked the strongest on the outside were often carrying the heaviest pressure on the inside. I kept meeting high performers who knew how to train their bodies, knew how to push through pain, knew how to fight for a starting spot or a scholarship, but no one had ever taught them how to process loss, identity shifts, injury, burnout, or the silence that comes when their playing careers end. That gap is what led me to create Copious Life Sports Initiative, or CLSI. Our mission is to close what we call the resilience gap. That is the space between pushing through and breaking down, where too many athletes get stranded. This podcast exists because the conversation around athlete mental health needs more than headlines. It needs stories, real stories from athletes who lived it, coaches who saw it, parents who felt it, journalists who covered it, professionals working to change the system. Because athletes are not just performers, they're people. Here, we talk about the pressure behind the performance, the identity behind the jersey, the silence behind the success. My hope is that every episode helps athletes feel less alone, helps families feel more equipped, helps coaches and leaders rethink what it really means to support the whole athlete. This is Beyond the Game, and I'm really glad you're here.
Welcome back to another episode of CLSI's Beyond the Game podcast. We are excited today to have with us Toshay Harvey. He brings a powerful perspective to Beyond the Game, one rooted in resilience, sacrifice, leadership, and purpose beyond basketball. A former standout guard at Southern Illinois University, Toshay's journey has never simply been about the game itself. His story is one of perseverance, putting family first, and navigating the real-life pressures athletes face behind the scenes. During his playing career, he became known not only for his toughness and competitiveness on the court, but also for the maturity and perspective he carried off of it. Today, Toshay is the founder of the Long Way Academy, a platform and movement focused on mentorship, development, accountability, and helping young athletes understand that success is built through discipline, adversity, and character over time, no shortcuts. Through coaching, mentorship, and community impact, he continues pouring into the next generation, both on and off the court. What makes Toshay's voice especially important is his authenticity. He speaks openly about the grind behind growth, the realities athletes face outside the spotlight, and the importance of identity beyond performance. His message aligns closely with CLSI's mission of closing the resilience gap by helping athletes build the tools needed to navigate pressure, setbacks, expectations, and life after sports. This conversation goes far beyond basketball. It's about manhood, responsibility, purpose, mentorship, and what it really means to take the long way toward becoming who you're called to be. Thank you for joining us today, Toshay. Happy to have you with us.
I appreciate you having me, Phillip.
Yeah, no problem, man. And so let's dive right into it, right? Tell the audience, who are you before basketball? Who are you growing up? What shaped Toshay into kind of what we're seeing today and the man that was there along the journey?
Oh, a big part of it is my upbringing, man. My family, my mother, my father. I'm not going to exclude him like he wasn't there. That was a big part of it. I grew up, man. I grew up in the projects in Houston, Clayton Homes, just Second Ward, born and raised. Was born there. My mother them lived there since they was like 5 years old. So I was kind of like a second generation project kid. all once I graduated from high school. We moved here and there, in and out of there, throughout that to all the different, hoods, if you want to call it that. The Fifth Ward, the Third Ward, South Park, Sunnyside, Southwest. We kind of moved around a whole lot. And I think all of that kind of shaped me to where I am, because I got a chance to be well-rounded, because I got a chance to be around a lot of different people.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing about your dad and saying, even though he wasn't there, one of the things I often find in counseling, especially when I'm talking to men, young men, older men, is especially kind of when I'm kind of coaching and mentoring husbands, is a father's absence or presence has an impact, right? And you can be physically present and still be absent emotionally, right? So not emotionally present, and you could be physically absent, and that's still going to have an impact. So talk to me a little bit about your father and kind of that impact of his presence of not being around.
I have 3 other siblings. My younger sister and my middle brother, we all got the same father. And I'm the oldest. So, he had to be around to make the other kid.
Right.
Baby brother is from, he has a different father. But, my dad, I'm the oldest, so I got a chance to remember him a lot. I know he had love for me. Still do to this day. He ended up, going to prison. So that's what kind of, took him away from us. Went to prison for a little while, I think about 8 years. And then, just kind of hard. It was kind of like I was maybe like 6 or 7 when he went to prison. So when he came out, I'm a teammate. You know what I mean? I didn't have you. Obviously, I didn't need you. I'm still doing fine type thing. He tried to come around. He tried to come around the wrong way by trying to be with my mother, who had, of course, from that. And that just caused, a little conflict and stuff. And I know he was there. He loved us for certain, but just couldn't be around like that.
Yeah. Are you comfortable sharing what he did time for?
There's a couple of different things, man. There was murder, and there was some other stuff that he did, but I'm not sure everything he did, but I know that was a part of it.
Right. Okay. That's tough, man, right? Coming from the hood, coming from the projects. When did you find the game of basketball?
Oh, well, the game of basketball always been around, because where I lived at Clayton Homes, we had 2 basketball courts, one in the middle of the projects, one at the bottom, called, down the hill. So basketball was all the way around. My uncles, they were all athletes. My older cousins were all athletes. And we got a chance to play basketball every day. We had a basketball court there. So as long as I can remember.
And so you played in high school. How were you as a high school athlete?
I was the top 70 players in the nation. I was, all state, all district, top leading scorers in the city of Houston in '98. Played on the top team, AAU. High school was one of the top teams in the state, so did pretty good.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
Georgetown.
And so when did that college recruitment start for you?
Oh, that's funny, man. I really don't know, because I didn't really know much about college. You can go to college and play basketball. Nothing against my high school coach, because he's still to this day one of the best coaches I ever had. But they didn't preach college to us like that, or getting good grades or anything like that. And I know it's just because that's not, that wasn't their thing. But the first time I learned that I wanted to go to college was seeing my older cousin at Baylor. Kind of watched him and went to college. That's when I realized you could go to college to play basketball. And then after my freshman year of high school, I was the only sophomore in varsity. And I didn't get a chance to start or anything like that. But my junior year, I got a chance to start and shine. And I remember my first letter that I ever received was from University of Houston.
So what was that like? And so your cousin, he was in college. What about your immediate family? Were you the first one to go to college?
I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, and I have a humongous family. So I was the first one to graduate.
Okay. And so you ended up where for college? So you got offered by Houston, but where'd you end up?
Oh, I ended up, man, I got recruited by everybody, man. I mean, St. John's, TCU. I mean, any school you can think of, I got recruited by out of high school. I just didn't get the grades. So I had to go the JUCO route. JUCO route, I ended up going to Kilgore College, which ranked like number 3 in the nation. After Kilgore, I got in a little trouble while I was at Kilgore. Got in a little trouble, went to jail. Didn't know all that, got probation for 5 years. Coach at Kilgore took my scholarship because he was all over the news and all that kind of stuff. And I ended up going to Boulder Parish Community College for a semester. A real crazy coach over there. I twisted my ankles, like a severe sprain, high ankle sprain. He told me every day I missed, I had to run 3 miles and then practice. That wasn't happening. My mother was still living then. I called her and told her, like, I can't run 3 miles and then go to practice and to kid. Like, that's not happening. So she called the coach, went off on the coach. She had a few choice words for him. He ended up kicking me out of the team that day, took my scholarship that day, man. He put me out the apartments, the team apartments. I ended up, this lady that was out there that just took to me, the kitchen lady. I wish I could find this lady to this day. She took me into her house, man. I stayed at her house for the rest of the semester. Ended up having to get a job at Burger King, just to be able to live. And after that, I ended up signing with Southern Illinois University. And then the next semester, I ended up going to John A. Logan Community College, which was in a city like right next door to Southern Illinois. I went out there for that semester, finished, did everything I had to do to be able to play Division I basketball. I had 3 years remaining. So that's kind of how that went. Then to Southern Illinois.
Okay. And so you graduated from Southern Illinois?
Nah, it's a story. That's the beginning of the story, man.
Oh man! All right. So hold on. Before we get into that, there's a lot of kind of really good stuff, because one of the things we talk about is the resilience gap, right? That space between kind of push through and break down. And so you get to college and you get caught up in some activity and get arrested. And so that was on the news, right? And so seeing though, kind of growing up in the inner city, growing up in the hood, seems like some of that life was a part of you too, and you got into some trouble around that, and then bounce back, right? In some sense, you still kept your basketball career on track, and then move forward and got into a conflict with the coach, and then got knocked down again and bounced back, right? The lady, what was the lady's name? Let's see if we can find her. What was her name?
Man, I don't know her name, man.
Oh man,
she worked in a lunchroom in the kitchen there.
Okay.
Man, I always liked it so much, man. She took me in, put me in a back room of a house, and let me stay there. She had kids herself. She had a daughter and a son, and she had like a little back house, like a little back room, like the back of her house. She told me I could stay there. So I'm on the room. I can go out the back door, come in through there, and go to the shower, do whatever I need to do.
Oh man, hopefully we can find her. Hopefully somebody sees this that knows her. And so what kept you going, right? Like what kept you getting back to the court, getting back to school? Because I'm sure you had to get those grades right too, even when you were in community college. Kind of before we get to Southern Illinois and kind of the trials there, what kind of kept you going up until this point?
I mean, I wasn't raised no other way, but just keep going. Like when you grew up in, where I grew up, things happen. You just roll the punches. You don't have time to cry or, feel sorry for yourself. So I didn't do that. I didn't know nothing else but keep pushing. One thing I do know is that, what I ended up getting in trouble for, I didn't do it. I just wouldn't snitch. I wouldn't tell. So it wasn't like I was a bad person or a bad individual or something that made me feel bad, because it wasn't. I knew the situation. I knew everything that went on. I just kept my mouth closed. So that's the only way I know how to do, just keep pushing. You know what I mean? Bad things don't happen to good people. Good things don't happen to bad people. But
in hindsight, do you wish that you would have done anything different as far as snitching when you were given the opportunity to, or are you good with that decision?
Well, I'm good with that decision. I wish the people that I didn't tell, I just would have spoke up. But I understood their point of view. I understood why they did and all that. We was all 19 years old. So I would change it, but it's what shaped me today. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now you're at Southern Illinois, and talk about that time at Southern Illinois, kind of what was going on for you during that transition.
You would think going to jail and losing a scholarship was the worst part. Southern Illinois was the worst part, man. It was horrible. When I got there, just keep this in mind, when I got out there, I just, dealing with the jail stuff, just had a baby at 19. And then while I was at Southern Illinois, that first semester while I was going to John A. Logan, my mother died. So now, I'm here in Illinois, no resources, no nothing, no mother, no any of that. and dealing with all of that probation stuff. I mean, dealing with everything, man, all by myself. No support from the coaches, no nothing. I mean, I think, they should have had some type of mental health expert or something to be able to just try to, help me out. But it was none of that. I mean, they talked about me like a dog in the media, knowing what I was going through. It took a teacher from John A. Lowe to kind of take up for me, and she wanted to file a lawsuit on my behalf because of what they was doing. But I didn't know no better.
And so this was the coaches and the institution that were talking bad about you in the media?
I mean, in the media, he was just saying stuff that shouldn't have been said. You know what I mean? But I'm 19, 20 years old. It's just like, I mean, if that's the worst thing you can do is say something about me, I'm built for that, so I'm okay with that.
Right.
But
So how did you navigate that, right? Kind of what did your performance look like on the court and academically during that time? Because it sounds like you had your own stuff from before with probation, family, and everything else. And now on top of that, the school is kind of adding to it and probably still expecting the grades and the basketball performance to be there. How did you navigate that, man?
Man, I just put my head down and worked. I mean, I didn't have nothing to nobody. I had a daughter, but I was in Illinois. It's not like I was seeing her on class and talking to her every night and stuff like that. I mean, talking to her mom, but I just put my head down, man, and just went through the motions. I know my responsibilities and what I had to do, so I just got up and did that every day and just kind of just going through the motions. When you're in it, you're not realizing like how hard that situation is because you're just in the situation. You don't. Not identifying like, oh my God, I'm going through this. Oh my God, I'm going through that. I'm just pushing through. I know tomorrow don't come. I know I got to get up tomorrow and, keep pushing.
Right.
As far as on the court, that was a struggle, man. Like to be, one of the top scorers in the state of Texas, one of the top players in the nation, to going to Southern Illinois and they, telling me, I can't shoot the ball, and stuff like that. And the only way I'm gonna be on this court is if I play defense. So in order to play, I played defense and got Defensive Player of the Year that year, just because I wanted to stay on the court. But him allowing me to play openly and freely, that's frustrating for a young player at that. But I kind of understood it in a sense because you hear the stories, the new player, the freshmen, the young players got to wait their turn. So that's how I kind of took that. Now with school, that was a battle, no real help, you know what I mean? They had tutoring and stuff like that, but I was being pushed to do classes that I really wasn't passionate about. I wanted to do something different. They told me no, I needed to do this. And what am I to say? I'm 19, 20 years old. Maybe they're right. So I just followed the path, followed the curriculum that they set out for me, and tried to do my best with that.
And so, how long were you at Southern Illinois?
Actually, at Southern, I was out there for 2 years because I went to John A. Lowe and finished up there and all that. But I actually played 1 season there at Southern Illinois University. 1 season.
Okay. And then where did you transition to? Was it your choice to transition out of there?
Yeah, I had to get out of there, man. Or I was going to start lashing out. That's how bad it was. And lashing out, I already been in trouble, wasn't really good. So one of the other coaches, he helped me transfer to a school closer to home. So my mother had passed. So I transferred to Southern University of New Orleans. That's why I ended up, finishing it.
How many years did you play there?
3 years of D1 remaining because I just went ahead and graduated from JUCO and didn't play. So then 3 years, and I spent 1 year at Southern Illinois, and my last 2 at Southern in New Orleans. And Southern Illinois, man, that was just a crazy situation. I mean, the coaches, he used to get mad at me because I didn't eat all my food. You grew up in the projects, Toshay. I'm going to tell you a quick story, man. It was so bad, man, when I came out there for the summertime because he didn't want me to stay at home in Houston. He was like, where you live at is too dangerous, too problematic. If we don't want you to get in trouble, cool, that's understandable. So he made me go to summer school. I stay out there for the summer because I had already graduated from school to go to. He put me with a guy at Carl. I'm going to see this interview because we still follow each other on social media. I know you remember this. He put me with a guy from John A. Logan named Carl Ball. Me and Carl, I knew it was going to be bad at this moment, man. Me and Carl walking down the street, I think we was walking to the store or whatnot. Bruce Weber, he pulls up in this little small SUV he had. I can't remember what kind it was, a black SUV. You hear the tires screeching. He pulls up, he's screaming my name, Toshay, get your ass over here, get over here. So I'm looking like, damn, what I done did now? You know? So I walk over to his truck and he's cursing me out. You can't be fucking hanging with these people. You can't hang out with these thugs. And, you know, Carl had braids, but he had his braids taken out. So he had the front, you know?
Right.
He's cursing me out. I'm like, what the? This who you put me with? That's Carl out. And he was like, what? That's not Carl. I said, that is Carl. He just took his braids down. That's how the hair look without braids. And he was just like, well, I don't care. You don't need to be hanging with thugs. Make sure you keep on the straight there. I'm like, I knew it was downhill from that, man.
But you told me to hang out.
I just had met Carl. So I didn't even know. I just met him. Like, I didn't, you put me with. And he didn't recognize because his hair was braided. You know, so.
Wow.
Yeah, man. It was that.
That's crazy, man. And so, I mean, Houston projects to Illinois, that was a transition in and of itself, right? Because culturally, that's a much different environment.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, the biggest thing that I remember was the weather difference. You know, the weather difference.
Yeah,
very, very different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Culture, man, it was what it was. I took people for who they were. The bad part about it was, like, my teammates from Southern Illinois, they didn't really understand me. I already heard the little rumors, the coaches telling me that I had been in jail and all that stuff, so they thought I was a thug. Like, a thug, I just hung around, live with, got family members like that. They don't make me one. I give you another little story. I remember there in Southern Illinois, coach telling me to, you know, try to link up with teammates and stuff like that to get, you know, acquainted with them. Called a couple of teammates, called one of them. They had like a party on somewhere around there. I can't remember what it was. They had a party. Called one of them and, hey, man, you going to this party? If you're going, I want to ride with you. I'm not going. I'm going to hang with my girl. Called another one of the Southern Illinois teammates. Same thing. Now I'm going to just chill at the house. I ain't doing that. So I went and hung out with John A. Logan players. You know, we went to the party, and guess who was there?
Your teammates.
Southern Illinois players. And, you know, I asked them about it, you know, one of the other players, why they tell me? They like, man, they heard you went to jail and that you might be in the store and trial. I'm like, what? And, you know, everything just went down here from there, man, before it even got started.
So you are at college, a college that recruited you. You assigned somebody to hang out with over the summer. And in the middle of all that, you're being racially profiled by the coach and the players because of where you come from and what you've been through. I mean, that's...
And let me say this too, man. Matt Painter, you know Matt Painter is coach at Purdue.
Yeah.
That's my guy, one of the best coaches I ever had. So he was on staff there. I get nothing bad to say about him. He tried to help me through the situation and all that stuff. Nothing to Matt Painter, one of my other coaches, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but nothing towards Matt Painter at all. He's a great guy. He still called me here and there, you know, summer to summer, you know, looking for players and all that kind of stuff. But Bruce Weber, you know, I let it go now, but that was just, I don't know why he didn't like it.
Yeah, man, that's insane. it's insane. The guy took his braids out, and now the coach don't even know who he is, and that's man. I'm sorry to hear that. And so, talk to me about your time at Southern down in Louisiana.
Oh man, I had an amazing time down there, man. Another crazy coach, but God was crazy. Coach Hill. But I enjoyed my time there, man. I enjoyed my time there. You know, being ranked number 2 in the nation while I was there. Both years I was there, I got Louisiana College Player of the Year 2 years in a row. That we made it to the Nationals each year I was there. No, we didn't win them. Made it. Got my degree. That's the biggest thing. Got a chance to meet a whole lot of good people, man. Like, I enjoyed my stay. But rest in New Orleans.
And so that was a lot closer to home for you, right?
Yeah, you know, New Orleans like 5 hours away.
Yeah. And so your performance kind of, it sounds like you flourished there on the court. What about off the court, kind of academically? How did you?
I've always been smart. I've never been dumb. So academically, you know, I did well. I was on a date. I didn't have to take none of my finals. I regret none of that, man. I did amazing.
So going through those different environments and what you went through, what would your advice be to players now that are looking at colleges? Because that culture matters, that coaching matters, that right fit matters. Kind of what would your advice now to hoopers that are looking at different schools to attend about questions they need to ask, what they need to be looking for?
What I should have did better, and what I tell any other player, man, is talk to the players, not just the star players that they put you with. Talk to the players at the end of the bench so you can see their perspective. Because the star player will get treated differently from the player that sits at the end of the bench. Like, talk to them, go around talking to other players, from other sports. Allow them to see that so you can get a bigger picture of it than just, you go on there, you're on a visit, you're there for a couple of days and everything is fun. Because that's not reality.
Right.
That is not reality.
Right.
And, even with the coaches, try to do your research on coaches. Now we have social media. Try to reach out to some players that play for the coach. Do your research just as well as they doing theirs on you, do yours on them.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. They for sure run through your social media and know everything about you. So it's a two-way street. It's a relationship, right? It's almost like dating. They're gonna tell you all the good stuff up front, but I need to know the real deal before we go and put a ring on it, right? I need to know what I don't know. And so kind of going back, you were closer to home. You talked about being the oldest, having 3 other siblings you mentioned, right? And your mom passed away. So I'm sure you being one of the oldest, you had some responsibility there. So what was that relationship like with family, and how did family support you during this time?
Like I said, I come from an underprivileged family. Both of my brothers and my sister were kind of taken care of because my mom died. She had Social Security and all that, but I aged out of it, so I didn't get a chance to get anything. So I was just there. Summertime, I do camps, New Orleans Hornets camps, school camps, all that, try to save money, Pell grants, all that different kind of stuff. Because my family didn't, I didn't come from a well-off family, so they didn't really have much, to offer me. I just figured it out. I'm not a beggar neither, so I never called them to ask them for anything, but the only time I called was one person, my cousin, Treese, to help me pay for graduation. I didn't realize it cost to graduate.
Right.
But
right.
My family wasn't there. They came out to support, when I had a game, when I graduated and all that. Everybody gonna come out and support, but as far as offer me any type of help, until they quit, they didn't really know what I was going through mentally. So I didn't really share, push through it. I don't really complain a lot. Even today, I don't complain a lot. Just that's what's going on. That's what I got to do to get to this point and be all right.
Absolutely. Looking back on it, even in hindsight, what did basketball represent to you? What did basketball mean to you?
Basketball is life, man. I love it. I don't think I would have any degrees, any of these accomplishments on the wall without it. You know what I mean? It made me who I was. It taught me how to deal with adversity. It taught me how to deal with men. It taught me how to get past just anything. Because when you're playing sports, you're going to tell a lot of adversity. People don't really get it. You learn how to push through.
Right.
That's what it taught me. It taught me. It gave me life. You know what I mean? It literally gave me life. It gave me an opportunity to do something I never thought I was going to do. I never even thought about it. It was just college. I never thought about going to college until I saw somebody else in college playing basketball. And, I didn't even know. Funny thing, I didn't even know I was good at basketball until like maybe the middle of my junior year, maybe. Everybody else, because like in the projects, right, there's a lot of grown men playing basketball at the course and all that stuff. So I go to school, I kill everybody at school, dog them out, all of that. In my head, they just trash. They just sorry, because I go right back home against these grown men that's beating my head in, kicking my butt. So in my eyes, they were just good and I wasn't that good. I'm just playing against some other people at school that's just really not that good. So I realized how good I was until then.
Yeah, I think that's great because, right, nowadays what a lot of kids don't do is play pickup. They don't play pickup against older kids, right? And you look at it in the era of NIL, right, you have kids that are reclassing and double reclassing. But that means you're going and you're playing kids a year or two younger than you. If you're really that good, the goal should be to play against those older kids, to play up. So talk to me kind of from your perspective, what you're seeing in this era with all these reclasses. You're going the wrong direction as far as competition, right? You need to be playing stronger competition.
Yeah, I think it's doing the players a disservice. You know what I mean? It's giving them a fake reality. You know what I mean? That they're really good and they're really not. Because when it's time for them to go play against people their age or a little bit older, just say if they reclass and then, they end up going to college a year later, They still got to play against the seniors in college, juniors in college, and now they're not getting anything done. So you did all of that for what? You just delayed the inevitable. That's the kind of deal for the kids and the parents. Especially the NIL money and all that kind of stuff. I think they're chasing the wrong game with it. I respect the NIL money. I think it's the right thing, but the way everybody's chasing it is the wrong idea for me, in my opinion.
Right, because it's not getting to the ultimate. You want that degree, right? You want that thing that's going to be there even when the career ends. So you chase the short money, and then the short money runs out. Now what are you going to do, right? Like you don't have a long money.
Nothing really. Once that goes, and 9 times out of 10, you're not making it to the NBA.
Right.
What you gonna do?
Right. And that degree, completing that, and not just getting your bachelor's, man. If you got the time and you got the resources and it's being paid for, you can get the master's degree and set yourself up for a pretty long career. And that's something that we talk about is identity, right? Like, who are you outside of basketball? That matters. And a lot of athletes, they don't start kind of figuring that out until the career already ends. But if you can figure that out while you're in the career, get a business degree, get a sports management degree, right? Get a finance degree, get a degree that you can now parlay your career and your NIL, your name, image, and likeness into something post-basketball, post-sports for when that ends. Now that's the real win. That's the real victory these days.
The good thing about that, I went and played internationally and stuff. I'm just I don't talk about it a lot because I'm glad I got out of it as soon as I did, because I see a lot of people that I know that I played against and all of that, they still chasing hoop dreams, and they can't adjust to regular life. They may have a longer career playing, professional basketball, but now they can't adjust to life. They can't figure it out. So they're out here trying to find a job with no job history. So now they got to start at entry-level positions as a, 35, 40-year-old man, and entry-level positions, we know that's not really paying, a lot of bills. I was struggling, man.
Yeah. And I mean, part of that is I don't know who else I am unless I'm playing basketball, right? So there is no other identity. So you 30 and still don't have another identity. So I'm still going to keep. But hey, Father Time is undefeated, and those knees are going to wear out. That back is going to wear down. And now I'm much later trying to figure out and develop and cultivate that career. And that's a tough set of circumstances, man. Like that's a challenge.
Right.
Even circling back to kind of playing up versus playing down, right? When you look at the draft, I'm a Wizards fan. We got the number 1 pick. I'm excited, and so
they got to do it,
right? Right. It actually means you did very well in this.
Losing, right?
If you look at the team they get ready to field, like, it was a tanking year, but it's a solid team, and you're going to drop a couple good pieces on there. And so you look at AJ DeBonster, you look at Dylan Peterson, right? Those guys were 18, 19-year-olds playing basketball against 22, 23, 24.
Oh.
So that performance coming out of high school now is a whole lot more valuable when you're on the court with all those older guys. It's not like back in the day where you're 18 playing against 18. You're 18 and 19 playing against 22, 23, in some situations and cases, 26-year-olds.
With kids and families.
Yeah, with kids, families, mortgage payments.
Right.
Right. So the game has evolved. So you spend your entire career playing down, and then you do get fortunate enough to go to college. Now you're playing up. Now we're going to see what you really got. We're going to see who you really are. And that court doesn't lie. There's only truth is told on that basketball court. It's going to expose you.
Every time. Every time.
Every single time, man. And so you talked about the pressure and kind of what you dealt with and what you had to carry silently, right? So now being older, being able to reflect, right? There's the ability to have more conversations about mental health and self-care. What would your advice be to your younger self now? What do you wish you could go back and tell yourself? What resources do you wish you could make available for yourself when you were during that time kind of dealing with those challenges in silence?
I would have said speak out more, love myself more, be kinder to myself, those things, and speak up. If I would have did those things, I think it would have propelled me in life. And not saying that I wasn't kind to myself, I didn't love myself. I didn't know how to be kind to myself. I didn't know how to love myself. I was just going through the motion, you know, literally going through the motions. And, growing up, we didn't know anything about a therapist and trying to seek help to get, mentally better and all that stuff. We just learned, hey, stop crying and, get out there, you're going to be all right. That's the kind of tough love I got. Stop crying, big girl, and go out there and you're going to be all right. And that's how I move life. You're going to be all right. And, that ain't necessarily true. You still got those, the weight of that stuff that you're dealing with on you.
Yeah. And so back then, you probably would have described yourself as mentally tough. I can handle anything. I'm taking it on. I'm got my head down. I'm going through. Now, as you sit back as an adult and reflect, what does mental toughness mean to you now? How would you say that your perspective has changed on what it actually means to be mentally tough?
I mean, mentally tough, the opposite. Love yourself. Speak up. Go ask and go seek help. Be kind to yourself. People don't even know what those things mean. For me, that's taking care of your mental. And like the me today, like I went and did that work. I went and got some help mentally and stuff like that. I put my pride to the side to figure out why I'm wired the way I'm wired, because it's all a reason. It all comes back to childhood trauma. And, not knowing that it was trauma, because you see everybody around you dealing with it and going through it, so you think it's normal. It's like me. I didn't realize I was poor until I went to the Southwest, and one of my friends went to his house for a guard, played basketball. He had a 2-story house, like this big old house with a basketball, goal and all that. And I'm like, damn, you living like this? Well, I'm about to go back to, the hood. And that's when I realized, like, oh, nah, it's people living different out here.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I mean, that's part of what sports can do for you too, right? It can expose you to different environments and cultures. I know the guy that said, I got to see the world as a basketball player. And I don't even think I would have been able to do that, had it not been for this sport. And so it can open you up to a whole new world. And I think the message to athletes is embrace that. That's part of the process, right? Learn that new world, embrace the opportunities and what it brings with it, but prepare for life after. Prepare for what comes next, right? This isn't going to be.
I think more coaches need to instill that into kids versus just want to take their talent and run with their talent. I think that's a big problem. They pacify these kids and stuff like this so they can get whatever they need out of them athletically. I think they need to, sit down. I think, USA basketball, somebody need to sit down and make all AAU coaches go through a certain level of training. All coaches in general, and be able to go teach and pass that stuff along to these kids they dealing with, instead of just, sucking them dry in a moment something happened or the moment they can't provide athletically for these coaches or these teams, they just kind of throw them to the streets.
Right. Yeah. And when it's over, coaches move on, got the next kid coming in as well. And so you said these challenges shaped you. They made you into kind of who you are today. And part of what you're doing is wanting to give back. And so talk to me about the Long Way Academy. Kind of why did you start the Long Way Academy? What problem are you trying to solve with that program?
I wouldn't say it's a problem that I'm trying to solve. It's more of a need that needs to be met. Just solving a problem. Because a lot of times, a lot of these kids don't have necessarily problems yet when you're dealing with them younger. My thing about the long way is to teach them how to do the long way, which normally is the right way, no shortcuts. You just can't skip past all the grind and all the work and all that stuff and just get to the end and expect to be successful. And a lot of times, the ones that are just talented, they kind of get, skipped through the process. Then when they get skipped through the process and it's time to deal with real men or people who worked hard and all that to earn everything, they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to deal with real men or real women or nothing. It's like, it's like what's the saying? Hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard, right? Right. Get a lot of kids that's like that. They don't want to go the long way with anything. They just want to be pacified and skip through. So the need I'm trying to beat is just making kids mentally tough, making them go through the process and make them learn to enjoy the process. Because one thing I do, I don't know why I enjoy the process, but I do, maybe because what happened in my life. But I think if I can teach these kids or whoever, how to enjoy process, I think it'll make them a lot better later on in life. Forget sports, because sports, lifespan is very short, but just in life in general. That's the need I'm trying to fill, just to teach these kids how to love and enjoy the process.
Yeah. And let's talk about kind of both aspects, right? On the court and off the court. Let's start with on the court. What shortcuts are you seeing athletes take today that are hurting their development when it comes to their game?
I mean, when it comes to the game, no sustainability, right? You hear all these jumping at a portal kids and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be hurtful because when you get in real life as you're older, you just can't just stop doing stuff. I don't like this no more. Let me move on to the next. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
And I think that's doing these kids disservice by allowing them just to be able to jump around like that. I get it. I'm not saying I don't get it. I do understand it. But I think it's doing them more of a disservice because they feel like they can just jump around and leave. We see it with AAU. He ain't playing me this weekend, this, that, and the third. I want to go over and play with this team. And the parents are trying to appease their kids and taking them to these other teams. We see his kids jumping around from team to team every year. So for me, that's one of the biggest issues I see. That no sustainability. These kids don't have no nothing. They just quit when it gets hard.
Right. So I mean, you talked about it. You were a leading scorer, and your coach said you got to play defense. I'm imagining when you transitioned schools, your defense was at another level because you really had to work on your defensive game.
Right.
Yeah. So the scoring was still going to be there when you got back and got the opportunity to score, but your defensive game probably elevated because you sat there for a year.
Let me say this, man. Normally that's how it works. I always had the capabilities to play defense, but offense is fun, right? That's what gets you to know all that stuff. Defense is just strictly effort. If you give any amount of effort on a defensive end, it's going to look good. You know what I mean? If you lazy and taking these shortcuts and want to go under screens every time, not skinny up, get around them, if you want to do all this other stuff, then you won't be successful because you're running from the process of being a defensive player.
Right. When you get to the next level, no matter what sport you play in, there's going to be a kid there that they're relying on to do the scoring.
Don't I know?
There's somebody in front of you that they're relying on to do the scoring.
And what I'm telling you too, it's not that they're better. Like I had to learn this too. Matt Painter told me this. It's not that he's better than you. Coach Weber just trusts him more than you because he's been with him already. He knows the system and coach knows what to expect from him. You got to develop that relationship with him.
Yeah, and I mean, you see it now kind of with the transfer portal, right? I don't have to go recruit a high school kid. I could bring in a kid that's been at college, that understands what it means to be at college, academically, work ethic-wise, kind of on the court, IQ, all of that. I can go ahead and bring him in, and I don't have to worry about training that up in you. So it's not that he's better than you. I got a ready-made, I got a microwave player here that I can plug into the game.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah, no, I think that's key, and I think kids have to understand that. And so it's not just good enough back in the day to be the best player in high school. You have to be doing all the little things. Go talk to a player that's playing in college. Work out with a couple of guys. Play with a couple of guys that are playing at the college level and stop wanting to beat up on the younger kids, the kids your age, the kids that are less talented. You have to push yourself in that envelope. Go find a community college. Go hop in some of those pickup games. Like, right? If you want to play at that level now and they're taking ready-made players, then how do I become more ready-made coming out of high school? How have I prepared myself for that game?
Yeah.
So it's more work.
Yeah. But most people pacifying these kids back and so they can get something out of them. Oh, I see a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other side of it, right? The off the court side. What shortcuts do you see off the court that are hurting kids from developing into the young men and women that they need to?
Dealing with other men and women. A lot of them don't. Everything is so isolated because of these phones and social media. They just behind the phone and all of that. So they don't get a chance to develop social skills. They don't get a chance to develop critical thinking skills. They don't even know how to approach another man. You know what I mean? They don't know how to approach another woman. Like all of that is missing because of social media and these devices. Everybody is disconnected from one another. I think that's hurting the parents as well too.
Absolutely. I mean, if these kids go off and they don't make it, and if they get NIL money and that money stops and there's no degree, they're going to come back home trying to live with mom and dad.
Oh, that's right. They are.
Yeah, you're not setting them up to be independent adults taking care of themselves. You're setting them up that if they fail, and given the statistics, most of them aren't going to go pro, they are going to fail. Now you have to take care of somebody that doesn't know. And so it really is for parents doing the hard things, right? Let them bump their head, let them skin their knee, let them fail earlier, younger, let them
Yes.
experience. Yeah, absolutely. Let them go to that AAU team and sit on the bench for a while and then have to earn their playing time, right? Like, yeah, I've been there, man. My son was on a team. He was playing with some older boys and he had to sit on the bench. And the coach kept talking about him sitting on the bench and what it was. But he also had to sit on the bench and listen to a point guard be vocal, watch a team be led, go through all the drills, stay locked in, keep your spirits up, keep your energy up. And when he got that opportunity at the end of the season, when they needed him to play some man-to-man defense and guard the leading scorer on the other team, he had a plus minus of plus 10 and didn't score a point.
And that plus minus matters a lot. A lot of coaches don't even understand how plus minus works. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so to impact the game like that and be a plus 10 and you didn't score any points, that means you went in and you shut down their leading scorer and you got that one shot at the end of the season, but it's the development from the entire season of not going in, not having to play, right? Not being able to score at Southern Illinois, but you better defense when you got to your next school. But it's that adversity that helps to build better players that's being stolen away from the kids.
Yes.
They're not even getting the opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. You're right. You see it every single.
And so you say it's up to these parents, but sometimes it's the kids that are leading the parents and not the parents leading the kids.
Whose fault is it?
So, yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's the parents. But if you got a kid, if a kid's listening into this, right, if we end up clipping this up and the kid's hearing it, kind of what do young athletes need to understand earlier? What does that kid in 8th, 9th, 10th grade need to be going to tell his parents now, hey, we need to shift this. We need to change this because I want to get to where I need to be. What do athletes need to understand earlier?
So a couple of things came to mind. The first one is, just a question back to you. Like, these kids had to be trained up to be able to communicate with their parents the proper way before they can even know that they got to communicate with their parents. I think that's a step that's completely missing. It's almost like you were saying, it's like the kids are raising the parents and telling the parents what they need to do and how they need to have it done. These parents are still letting their kids, allow their kids to be more vocal and communicate with them and all that kind of stuff. Then they'll have that in them to be able to communicate with their parents based on how they feel. I'm one of the people, I believe that everybody's feelings matter. Are they correct? And is that what we should go with? Or should we go with the logical stance? I think we should always go with the logical stance and not the emotional stance because the emotions don't sometimes lead us, the wrong way. So I think a lot of these players need to find a good mentor, a coach that means well for them, not just pat them on the back every time they're doing good, but getting on them when they're doing wrong. I think they need to seek a person like that, not just a yes man or a yes coach. I think they need to seek a person like that to help guide them because I use this analogy all the time, right? These parents, right? Little Jimmy, he's outside all day long shooting on the basketball court, working on his handles. You know what I say to the parents? So little Jimmy is teaching little Jimmy how to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
How does that sound? It's like what you asked me. So you're expecting these students or these student athletes to know to go have these conversations with their parents about how they feeling and all of that. They don't even know that they need to do that. It takes somebody else to guide them, to teach them how to open their mouth and speak up and go seek help from parents, teammates, just friends, coaches, counselors at school, or whoever it may be.
It goes both ways, right? Like as a parent, right, before I get to my limit, as I've seen some of these parents do and blow their lid. You know how much money I'm spending on you and trainers and traveling and everything else? And look at the way you're going to go out on the court and everything else. If a parent could be in a healthy space and say, this is a significant investment. How are we going to partner to get the most out of it? Because it's hard to invest in something when there's not a lot of return or appreciation, right? How do parents grow in maturity to be able to have the conversation? So I'm not blowing my lid because we travel all the way up to Boston and we lost 3 games and you did nothing on the court. How does a parent show up differently?
So my question is, why is that the parent investing all this money and these resources into the kid sports career? Why? So the parents, they said, why? Why am I doing this? Are you doing this to get him a scholarship? Are you doing this because you living out your dream that you couldn't do? Why? Why are you doing this? Why are you spending all this money? Because one thing I wouldn't do, I wouldn't tell my child, and I coach my own daughter. I won't tell them I'm spending all this money doing this. I won't tell them that because I don't have to spend all that money. Back then when I was playing AAU basketball, I didn't have any money to pay for anything. You was good enough for the team to pay for you to play. AAU was only for the elite athletes, not for everybody. So we didn't have that. I didn't have that mindset of my mom having to pay anything. So I didn't carry that on to lash out with my daughter about, hey, I'm spending all this money, I'm investing you, I'm doing this, that, and the third. No, I'm doing all this because I love you. I want to see you grow. I want to see you be better. So for me, it's more of an emotional thing with my child. And I think it should be a bit more of that with their parents about seeing the kids' growth. Not because you spent some money on them going out. That's a given. You're going to have to do that regardless if you want them to play sports. If you want to go,
don't do anything, right? I was talking to a sports journalist, and he was like, all these parents kind of taking their kids on these weekends and traveling and everything else. Like, I don't understand why they do that. But he told me a story about how his dad used to take him to do reporting and journalism on different teams, and they used to travel. And so there's parents that are going to invest money in kids and travel to do all sorts of things. So it's not just sports, right? And what is the return on investment that you're ultimately hoping to see? Even if I'm traveling to chess tournaments, right? I don't need you to be a chess champion. What's the development I'm hoping to see? And parents have to have that hard conversation with themselves. What do I ultimately want out of this for my kid that is developing? How is this going to help them as an adult?
So if you notice,
skills is it?
You notice I keep putting it back on the parent, right? Because these kids, they front antelope haven't even developed yet for them to even understand, certain things. So I don't ever put it on the kid. I'm gonna always put it on the parent. Like if your idea is I'm spending all this money to invest in you to do this, that, and the third. No. Won't you just save that money and make sure you go to college by having a college fund? Invest in that. And if you want to play sports, you work your butt off hard enough to where you can make a team and they want you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And sports is going to develop you as a person for life. If you look at it, I think it's something like 80 to 90% of all Fortune 500 CEOs play team sports growing up. There's something about sports that can help you develop as a person, as a leader, as a teammate, partner, and so on and so forth. That development is rich for so much more than just translating to sports, right? And so as a parent, how is this thing that we're investing our time in helping to develop who my kid's going to be as an adult, not just how my kid's going to get to the NBA or the NFL, and they're probably not going to get there. What is this going to give them beyond the field, beyond the court, beyond the pool?
That's how I feel. That's how I look at it. So that's exactly what you just said, exactly how I look at it. Forget the investment in sports. I'm investing in you as a person so you can be successful in life. I tell my daughter all the time, I don't care about basketball. Like but she's my defensive stopper. When she don't get back on defense, you're a leader on defense. You know what that affects? That affects all your other teammates because they looking at you doing that. They feel like they can do that. And then that's letting me know you quitting, not on me, forget me, you quitting on yourself. You choosing to play basketball. You chose not to get back on defense. You quit it on yourself and your teammates, and you the leader. Now they gonna feel like they don't have to get back on defense because you are a defensive stopper. Oh, best defensive player not getting back. Well, I got to get back. That's how it goes. I had to break that down. This is just like in life. If you leading a group of people wherever you may be working at, they're gonna be looking at you to do everything. So the moment you do something wrong, they're gonna feel like it's okay for them to do something wrong with your friends, with everybody. So it's bigger than basketball. It's bigger than football. It's bigger than sports. It's life.
Yeah, because we've all been there with that person working on a group project and they not pulling their weight.
It don't feel good.
It's tracking the whole
Right.
Get back on defense. Do your part. I know what you need. We're not all here dealing with that. Right? Like that was your man that hit the wide open shot on the other end. You turn it over and hung your head and points going up on us on the other side of the court. Help us out.
And this one thing I do with my training, I have like accountability sessions, for the players to be vocal and hold their teammates accountable. You know what I mean? It's okay. Right. You should hold your teammates, your friends should hold them accountable. If they doing something wrong, it's going to affect the whole or affect themselves. And you care about your teammate, let them know that respectfully, So
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that makes perfect sense. And so basketball career came to an end. You're doing some coaching now, but I also see some photography and some modeling going on for you. Talk to me a little bit about
so, I was one of the Still am. I didn't say one it was, but top photography was in the city. So I shot any entertainer you can think of from Houston, even other places too. I'm gonna speak on Houston. Every artist you can think of in Houston. I mean, from the top artist to the bottom artist, every artist in Houston I've worked with. And it allowed me to just navigate doing different things and find out I just had a passion for it. Didn't even know I had a passion for things that look good always, but now, channeling, behind this camera right here, it's a little different. It's just something that just came natural, man. I don't know where the eye for it came from. I was just in the studio one day. The guy told me whatever I saved in the budget from the company I was with, I get to put in my pocket. And the biggest thing that came out the budget was photography. Then we had a it can't be that hard, you know what I mean? And I self-taught. I taught myself how to use it. End up blowing up being something that I've done since 2008. So.
Oh, wow. Man, that's dope. Well, I mean, your court vision had to be impeccable if you got an eye like that. So maybe some of that point guard play transition in the way you see things through that camera lens, man. And so that's dope. You have that identity as a photographer, and it's not just I'm doing this as a job. It's something that you love.
Oh, yeah, it's a career for me. I paid a lot of bills, raised kids off of it and all.
Yeah. And it's good to be able to find something that you love and do. Basketball, something you love. But there's another part to Toshay, right? He loves photography too. Being behind the camera, right? And that's what we talked about, the importance of cultivating all sides of yourself. You still do basketball, you help coach your daughter, you have your program, but you also do photography, and there are multiple sides to you that get to show up and express themselves and exist, which probably leads to a more fulfilling life for you.
For sure. That definitely does, man. Even just with creating income for myself, it allows me to create time for myself, which allows me to have, additional time for my kids. So that was a bigger piece for me, to be able to have some freedom to be able to do what I want, when I want, how I want to do it. And that was a bigger piece for me always. And if you can see, I got a tattoo here that I got like my freshman year of college. I don't know if you can really see it, but kind of had businessman, had basketball player. It says strictly business on the side of it. So this is something like that I always done. Businessman as well as, be a part of basketball.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So before we get out of here and wrap up, I want to circle back to something you said to make sure we double click on it, because it's a part of why we're here. It's a big part of this conversation. You said that you kind of put your pride to the side a little bit, and you got some help and support for yourself, some mental health and support for yourself. And so we're sitting here. We want these athletes to be taken care of. We want to step in and help support them and everything else. Talk to me about what that experience was like for you, and help to take some of the stigma off of it. As these athletes are thinking about doing it, what was that process like for you?
The first emotion that comes to mind was shame. You know what I mean? Because the only way you can get through it the proper way is to be open, honest, vulnerable, and truthful. If you don't, they can't help. You know what I mean? So having to rip these Band-Aids off, man, that was the most difficult part of it. And, they force you just through conversation, not really force you, but just through conversation to relive moments. You know what I mean? For me, like playing basketball, I don't know why, for whatever reason, I don't remember a lot of it. I don't know why. But bad things in my life, I remember very well. I don't know why. And for them to be able to break down why I'm wired the way I am today and help me understand that by just going back, through childhood trauma was very fulfilling for me, man. The hardest part, though, was just ripping them Band-Aid off and open them scars back up. But I think every athlete needs that. People don't realize the amount of pressure that athletes are under constantly. And we're expected to perform under pressure at all times. And going to just have a safe place, to just be vulnerable, is a good thing. And one thing I do remember, the feeling I had once I was done with it. Once I got everything I needed to get out. Not even helping me understand it, because I'm smart enough to know certain things, right? But they just guided me through it to help me understand the whys, to why I'm wired the way I'm wired. And was a good feeling that I wasn't going crazy, that I wasn't tripping, that I wasn't just an angry human being, because I had to do it twice. I had to do it in college once. My mother passed and made me take anger management classes. And not that I was that type of anger, but I fight in a heartbeat. I think twice. To help me, channel my thoughts and stuff a different way versus, putting my hands on people. So I got a chance to do that. And then as an adult, I went through a divorce and all that stuff like that, and had to find out like why I was doing the things I was doing to create harm, not just myself, but for others too. And I'm gonna do it, but just nonchalantly, and a lot of people get nonchalant personalities confused with that they don't care. It's not that I don't care, I just don't know how to express emotions. I learned that I have a hard time empathizing and sympathizing. I don't know why. I know why I'm angry. It's we'll go a whole nother hour for talking about that. But but I they taught me, I found out why I don't empathize and sympathize well, and that's the biggest problem with me. And it makes it seem like heartless and emotionless. And I'm not. I grew up in that, and things I went through in life. Stop crying. Get over there. You're gonna be all right. And then not to sympathize with, or empathize with people. Man, everybody's not wired like that. That's not right. That's not right of me to be that way.
Right.
No, so I'm not out
Right.
to,
Yeah. And when it's hard to empathize and sympathize with other people, it's hard to be kind to yourself, sit and deal with your feelings. So it just comes full circle, right? I'm making it through. I'm not connected with other people. I'm messing up relationships. When meanwhile, the chief relationship that you've impacted along the way is your relationship with yourself.
Yeah, you count that. So I know you know a little something, because most people don't circle that back around, and it all ties in, being kind to yourself and all that. So, because I was being harmful to myself by being that way, and I didn't realize that.
Right. I definitely appreciate you joining us today and having this conversation, man. I'm going to be in touch with you as we continue to grow and do different things, man, because at the end of the day, I want these kids to have an opportunity, right, to live life to the fullest, live life more abundantly on the court, off the court, on the field, off the field, kind of to be able to reach their maximum potential, man, because the stress and the weight of being a teenager nowadays is overwhelming. But being an athlete, on top of all that?
So, I think, man, I don't know if you lead to whoever, I don't know if it's already existing, but I think they should, somebody should have like mental sessions, just like they got training sessions, mental training sessions with all the players too, so they can help understand everything.
That's what we want to push, man. We want to have awareness events at different schools, different AAU events and everything else to start to keep this conversation going. So parents are now aware of these conversations, right? That they're hearing some of these things and it is starting earlier, right? So that mental health doesn't have that same stigma that it has where, oh, no, I don't want to do that because all the stuff that's going around is like, no, let's have the conversation. Let's take care of the whole athlete, the whole person, not just their performance, but all of who they are so that they can reach their maximum potential as human beings, as adults, right? So that's what we're building towards, man. And I'm looking for great people like yourself to say, hey, how do we push this mission? How do we keep this conversation going forward? How do we put some action behind it?
That's the long way it's all about. So whatever you need me or whatever you need me to do, man, I'm there for it. I may be busy, a lot going on, but when it comes to stuff like that, man, when Angela told me about, the mental health aspect, I was like, oh yeah. Because everybody want to talk basketball. Like that's easy.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk life. All right, man. I appreciate you. For athletes, mental toughness is not silence. Real strength is learning how to speak up, ask for help, and understand what you're carrying internally. The process matters more than shortcuts. Reclassing, transferring constantly, and chasing quick success can hurt long-term development on and off the court. Build an identity beyond sports. Sports can open doors, but who you become outside the game is what sustains you long after the playing career ends. For parents, development matters more than exposure. Focus on long-term growth, character, and maturity, and not just rankings, offers, or visibility. Sports should prepare kids for life. Leadership, accountability, resilience, and communication are the real outcomes that matter most. Teach kids how to communicate emotionally. Young athletes often don't know how to express what they're feeling unless adults help guide them. For coaches, you are shaping people, not just players. Coaches impact confidence, identity, emotional wellness, and leadership far beyond the game itself. Accountability must come with support. Athletes need coaches who challenge them while also caring about them as human beings. Teach life through sports. The best coaches develop resilience, discipline, communication, and emotional maturity, not just talent. Closing thoughts. What stands out in this conversation with Toshay Harvey is not just the adversity he faced. It's how much of it he carried silently. Growing up in the projects, his father going to prison, losing scholarships, getting arrested, losing his mother while trying to survive college basketball and adulthood at the same time. And still, every day he kept moving forward. Not because he wasn't hurting, but because that's what many athletes do, especially young men, are taught to do. Push through, don't complain, don't cry, figure it out, keep performing. And the reality is, that mindset comes with a cost. Research shows that approximately 35% of elite athletes experience mental health concerns, including anxiety, depression, burnout, or emotional distress during their careers. Yet many never seek support because vulnerability is still viewed as weakness in sports culture. And when you look specifically at men, the numbers become even more concerning. According to the CDC, men account for nearly 80% of all suicide deaths in the United States. That matters. Because what Toshay described today is the reality for a lot of athletes, carrying pressure silently while still being expected to perform publicly. And what made this conversation powerful is that he challenged the definition of mental toughness itself. Mental toughness is not pretending you're okay. Mental toughness is speaking up, loving yourself, seeking help, understanding your trauma, and learning how to heal instead of simply surviving. He also challenged the culture surrounding youth sports today. The transfer culture, the shortcut mentality, the NIL obsession, the constant movement instead of development. Because eventually the game stops. According to NCAA data, fewer than 2% of NCAA athletes ever go on to play professionally. So the real question becomes, who are you when the game is over? That's why Toshay's message about the long way matters, because the long way develops character, resilience, leadership, discipline, emotional maturity, and identity beyond performance. And that's the real win. Not just becoming a better athlete, but becoming a healthier person. For men, becoming a better father, becoming a stronger leader, a more grounded human being. And that's what CLSI is really about. Closing the resilience gap between performance and well-being. Helping athletes learn that they don't have to carry everything alone. Thank you for joining us on this episode of CLSI Beyond the Game, where mental wellness competes. See you next time.
Make sure to follow CLSI on Instagram and TikTok at clsi.life. Share this episode. Engage with the movement. Together, we can close the resilience gap.